Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 2 of the Monday Night Sports Talk. This week, we got a special guest in Matt O'Leary. Thank you so much for joining us, Matt.
Hey, happy to be here. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Of course. So you guys know the drill. Last week, we launched the first episode where we got a lot of topics to go through, and we're just going to talk about the New York Jets and everything that's going on with this team. And, we're going to recap the game yesterday. We're going to preview the game next week. We're going to talk about the rookies. We're going to talk about the positives. And obviously, we're going to have to talk about the negatives because that is really profound. So before we hop into this, let's go around the table and let everybody introduce themselves for the people that do not know who everybody is. So, Matt, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Matt O'Leary. I run the Jets YouTube channel, Matt O'Leary NY, and I do a podcast, the Just Jets podcast, that comes out every Wednesday. So I appreciate it if you sub up if you haven't already.
Awesome. Ali, how about you, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Ali from Loyal NY Jet Fans on Instagram. You guys probably know me as from Richie from all the podcasts. So let's talk Jets.
How about you, Jack? What's going on?
What's going on, everybody? You can follow me on Twitter at Jack_NYJets. And I make appearances on Richie's YouTube channel, Jets Media, pretty frequently these days. So I'm just ready to get to it. Very excited.
Yeah, so we're really excited to launch this weekly show on my channel where we're going to have a lot of special guests, and Matt O'Leary gets to be the first special guest on the show. So first topic is on the bottom of the screen, which is Jets Chargers recap. So as Matt said before we hopped on here, it was an entertaining game. About time, am I right? I mean, these Jets games are hard to get motivation to watch, and we always are like dreading them because we know it's going to be 3 hours of hell and it's going to be upset. But it was entertaining. Joe Flacco looked like Joe Flacco, but he did finally target Denzel Mims, and there's a lot of stuff to dissect into this game. So, Matt, what was your, quick little recap of the game?
Yeah, first half was real tough to watch. The offense wasn't really doing anything at all. I think Flacco had like under 50 yards passing. It was something crazy. And Justin Herbert, I mean, I got to give him credit. He's been unbelievable early on in his career. He was tearing up that Jets secondary for the most part. I thought Hall played well, but outside of Hall, pretty much every other member of that secondary had a rough day. Davis wasn't great in coverage. Undrafted free agent rookie Lamar Jackson, I thought, was a little rough in coverage, and linebackers usually tend to struggle in coverage. But in the second half was much more watchable. The Jets offense came to life. There were a couple deep shots to Denzel Mims, which I know we're big fans of that. We are for the brand on that. And to me, that's the biggest takeaway is your rookies in Denzel Mims and Makai Bechten, your two premier picks, look excellent. They've exceeded my expectations so far early on in their career. And to me, that's really the true building block. So at the end of the day, yeah, they lost another game. Wins and losses doesn't really matter right now. I think everyone's kind of rooting for losses at this point anyway, so get better draft stock. But overall, if you're going to lose a game, I think that's the way to do it. Have a competitive game, have a fun game, but have the young guys shine, which I think we saw a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself. The biggest positive that we took away from this game is our first 2 draft picks in the 2020 draft in Makai Bechten and Denzel Mims look like sure studs, and we are so excited to have them on our team and hopefully be the future of this franchise. If you guys are just into the stream, make sure you smash that like button if you're enjoying this stream. We are doing this weekly, every single Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be live on Jets Media. So if you guys are enjoying this show, make sure you smash that like button. I would appreciate that a ton. So, Ali, do you want to give us your little recap of the game?
I mean, last week I remember mentioning about Henry Anderson, and, he came out and made a play right away. He made a play, he blocked that punt, and he was very active. And I was like, finally, this guy showed up and he did what he had to do. Quentin Williams, the defense line did pretty well in the beginning. But then the offense, like Matt said, was absolutely. I don't think a wide receiver caught a ball in the first half. So that tells you a lot about how the offense looked. But seeing LaMichael Piron, run the ball, Frank Gore getting his first touchdown, that was very revival of like this offense moving the ball and something we haven't seen much this year. And then the second half, the offense started clicking. We saw Denzel Mims flash. I mean, we were going to talk about him more in depth later, but you see the improvement. You see the improvements from all his games, and he gets better and better every game. So, and the Jets lost. So like this is a good competitive game, and the Jets lost and still have a chance at Trevor Lawrence with the number 1 pick.
Couldn't said it better myself again, man. Jack, so give us your little take on this Jets-Chargers game.
I'm so confused as to like what I want to see when I watch a Jets game on Sunday. Like, I want them to keep it competitive, but I want them to lose because I want Trevor Lawrence. But at the same time, I'm so disgusted at the thought of getting rid of Sam after 3 years when we all thought he was the guy that like, I don't know what I want to see on Sunday. So I'm like, yo, like, why can't Sam Darnold be the one that's throwing these touchdown passes finally with these healthy receivers, because they look good out there, at least in the second half. The first half, I totally forgot that we even had receivers on the team. It just goes to show that once again, the coaching staff is just totally incompetent, man. Whether it's Greg Williams or whether it's Gase and Dowell, I mean, it's just we need a total revamp. But yeah, we had some promising young guys play well. Obviously, I wish that everybody got the targets that they should be getting when you're 0-10 and you're still feeding 37-year-old Frank Gore. But whatever. Honestly, whatever, right?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I think that this game was a roller coaster of a game. I mean, the first 5 minutes was absolutely amazing. We saw, competitive Jets football. We saw good defense that forced a fumble, and then we saw a punt block, and then we saw dominant running attack. We got 3 straight Frank Gore handoffs, and then the fourth one went to Michael Pirine for the touchdown, and which was all set up by Makai Bechten because Bechten looked like an absolute stud. We get our first donation of the night from V-Man, who has an interesting take. For those worried that the Johnsons will keep Gase and sell tickets to non-Jets fans, what non-Jets fans can afford to travel to Jets games after global pandemic and economic recession? He is gone. We hope so, man. We hope Adam Gase is gone. We're going to talk about Adam Gase in the future of this. And again, I appreciate that donation, man. But yeah, going back into the game, it was a roller coaster. We started off, I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, are the Jets going to be competitive? And then I'm like, wait, are the Jets going to win? I don't want them to win. But like, wait, I'm watching a Jets game. I want them to win. It's like, but I don't.
Exactly,
it's such a crazy situation.
That's
Going into the game, all the Jets fans are like on agreement. Yeah, let's lose this game. But then when you're watching the game and it's live, you can't be like, I mean, me personally, I can't just like root against my team. It's just not in me. So it's such a weird situation. But then, typical Jets, we get a great turnover at the line of scrimmage, at the goal line. Keenan Allen fumbles, and then the first play following that is an insane pick six from Joe Flacco, which was probably the most hysterical moment of the season for me.
I was laughing hysterically.
And of course, it was an out route from Jameson Crowder, the stereotypical Adam Gase play calls. He does the same thing all the time, a little out route. It's like the Chargers studied the film, and you can tell that the defense knew what was coming. They're like, okay, 1st and 10. This is probably going to be an out route to Crowder. And he literally ran the route for him, and he caught the ball basically like in the end zone, didn't even have to move. So, and then following that play, everything went downhill. Justin Herbert was just lighting us up. He looks like a phenomenal stud quarterback who is going to be an excellent QB for the Chargers in the future. And I'm a big fan of his. And Keenan Allen was torching us. Mike Williams was torching us. But at the same time, I feel like Bryce Hall, for a second career game in the NFL, he had a lot to work with. I mean, Keenan Allen is one stud of a receiver. And if you look at the numbers, Keenan Allen had one of his best games of his career with like 15 receptions, 150 yards, and a touchdown. But Bryce Hall, I feel like, definitely impressed me. He showed flashes. There was definitely some times where he got beat and he had some pass interference penalties. But I like what I saw from Bryce Hall overall. Another positive I could think of is Foley Fatukasi and Quinton Williams. They look like men on that defensive line. And I'm excited for those guys. Henry Lange, I mean, he just comes out of nowhere and looks like an absolute stud at that middle linebacker position. And I mean, I'm saying all these defensive players, but the defense as a whole was atrocious. I mean, we can't say that. We're gonna pick on some individual players, and that's gonna segue into our next topic, which is defensive struggles. So, Matt, what's your really core reason why Greg Williams went from the 7th defense in the league last year to now it's one of the worst defenses in the NFL? Is it the personnel? Is it Greg Williams as a coach? So what do you really point the fingers here?
I think it's a mix, to be honest with you. I think last year's defense overachieved for what they had on that roster. And and then you move Jamal Adams, and I think we could agree that what they got back for Jamal Adams was absolutely worth it. It was the right decision to move him, but that's obviously going to play a little bit of a factor. And guys just have underachieved. Like Jordan Jenkins has been invisible for most of this year. Pierre Desir, who you brought in to be maybe not a true number one, but you thought he could be at least hold down the fort, a stopgap kind of a corner, was awful that they had to cut him mid-season. Bradley McDougald, who they also acquired in that Jamal Adams trade, he got hurt, and when he was healthy, he wasn't all that good. So this secondary has really, really struggled, and they're young. They're still learning. So I understand why there's bumps in the road. And, he said this earlier in the year where it's not all on the defense. That's partly true. A big part of the reason why is they're on the field a lot because the offense doesn't move the ball a whole lot, and they always lose the time possession game, it feels like. So that plays a factor too. But to me, Greg Williams is someone who's usually streaky as a coach. Like he'll have one year where his defense looks great, and then the next year they're like 25th in the league, and you're like, what the hell's happening here? But to me, honestly, I think it's a mix of both things. I don't think he's a sustainable, great defensive coordinator. I think he has his ups and downs, and this defense certainly has its holes in it. The linebackers are really slow. That's an issue. They're not great in coverage, and teams are just able to pick that apart. And right now, I think it's pretty obvious what you have to do against this Jets team is you just spread them out and throw all over them, and you'll get a ton of yards.
Yeah, I mean, this defense is struggling. It could be how young and inexperienced these guys are. And we moved on from a lot of players, but at the same time, there's a lot of players that are injured. Brian Poole's out for the season. And then, like I said, we moved on from guys like Steve McClendon, Avery Williamson, Pierre Desir, CJ Mosley opting out. So there's a lot of holes on this defense. And I saw some reports, some rumors that Joe Douglas is going to go heavy defense in this offseason. We don't know if that's true, but I mean, he's going to have to put a lot of time and draft picks and money into the defense because it looks like there's no potential there. The only cornerstone on that defense, I think, is Quinnen Williams and Foley Fatukasi. I think those two guys can hold that interior defensive line. Outside of that, they're all wild cards. We're hoping it's Bryce Hall, but we don't know yet. It's way too early to tell. We're hoping Bless Austin can develop, but he's still in his second year and showing inconsistency at coverage. So Ashton Davis is finally starting. He led the team in tackles yesterday with like 12. I think Ashton Davis is looking like a stud for that third round pick. So there's a lot of things to get into for this defense. So Ali, how would you evaluate this Jets defense and why they're struggling so much?
Matt said it best, man. But I think this defense is too young. I think they're really young and they're learning. It's a lot of new guys on this defense because there's been so many injuries. There's been so many trades. Everyone's new. Jamal Adams is gone. Avery Williams is gone. Steve McClendon's gone. All these guys who were the top players on the defense are gone. And it looks like a tank mode. It's literally what Joe Douglas is doing. It's tank mode, really. And, he's prepping for next season. He's getting cap space. He's getting cap space for next year. He has draft picks, and I feel like he will go heavy on defense, either free agency or draft, at least in most of the picks, because, offense and defense has a lot of holes, and, he has to work on both ends. So, it's good to see Bryce Hall getting a chance now. He's seeing them rookies just play games. You got really hard competition the next few weeks. The Seahawks, you got Raiders coming up. You got really top offenses coming up. And that's a really good experience for this defense because, Ashton Davis, Bryce Hall is looking at the future. Quinnen Williams looking at the future. So, it's a test for them. And this is the season what it is. We're not thinking about wins. It's just if they can deliver. And, I think it's the best thing that we could do and see the progress of Ashton Davis, who's leading the tackles, like you just said. And, Bryce Hall improving on his first start as an NFL, like his first start was pretty decent. So I think nothing to worry about. I think Greg Williams will not have a job here next year. I think everyone's wiped out. So, Jets are going to be a completely different team next year.
Yeah, I agree, man. And I think a big component to this Jets defense, what we're lacking is what we have lacked for a long time, and that is a true edge presence. I feel like we have a dominant, and I will use the word dominant. I feel like the interior defensive line has potential to wreak havoc, but the reason why we're not really seeing them get unleashed is because we do not have that number one, edge presence. And Matt mentioned Jordan Jenkins. He's been invisible. He's been like, yo, I mean, I was so excited to re-sign him. He's coming off an 8-sack season last year, and he's known for his run stopping. He did have a good game yesterday. He had like a half a sack and 3 run stops. But, he's not the pass rushing guy. He's more of a run stuffer. But he had 8 sacks last year, so we expected him to at least get back to 8 sacks or more. And he's been absolutely non-existent. So, yeah, that's really my take on the defense. Jack, what do you think the big reason why we're struggling? And what do they need to do to improve?
I'll just piggyback off of what you guys said because you hit the nail right on the head. It's just a matter of being inexperienced. I don't think it's crazy to say that we probably have the most inexperienced defense in the league. And I'll throw a name out there just for shits and giggles that hasn't been mentioned. Is CJ Mosley? What happened with that? We've gotten 1 quarter out of CJ Mosley in 2 full seasons. So. It's just a matter of inexperience, and we do got to put some of the blame on Greg Williams for sure, because if we're going to put all this blame on Adam Gase, then for sure we got to throw it on Greg Williams as well. I think that's only fair. But it's just a matter of being too young. I think everybody in our secondary besides Marcus May has no experience in the NFL. It's just we got young guys everywhere. Some young guys are showing potential, like you guys mentioned. Bryce Hall kind of held his own yesterday. He made some mistakes here and there, but he held his own overall, going up against guys like Keenan Allen and stuff like that. But then you got guys like Lamar Jackson, who doesn't look very good, who got straight up exposed by Keenan Allen on this one play that I remember. I like Ashton Davis. I like what he can do in the box and stuff like that, similar to how we use Jamal Adams. But I know that the Seahawks D is having their struggles this year, but it does show how big of an effect Jamal had on our defense with the way we're looking this year compared to at least we had some form of Jamal was essentially our pass rush, like Matt said. Jordan Jenkins has been non-existent this year. Who knows what happened to him? So, it's just inexperience and just poor play, and everybody's got to be held accountable, Greg Williams included.
Yeah, exactly, man. So we're going to segue into a new topic, which is more on the positive side of things. So we're going to get deep into Denzel Mims, and this is the question. Can Denzel Mims be our long-term wide receiver 1?
Yes.
So I forgot to put the 1 there. I'm going to edit that real quick. Can he be the long-term number 1 receiver? And let me just, why did I not edit again? And let me just define what a number 1 receiver is. A number 1 receiver, I know everybody knows what it is, but it's that go-to guy where you are 100% confident in him to make the play where it needs to be. He's getting 10 to 15 targets a game. It's that Julio Jones type, Keenan Allen, Mike Evans when he was alone. Now he has a crowded thing. Deandre Hopkins. I'm not saying Denzel Mims is going to have to be Julio Jones or DeAndre Hopkins, like talent-wise. But do you think Denzel Mims has the potential to be that? Matt, we'll start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I see a ton of potential in him. If you pace out what he's done over this 4-game stretch, it paces out to over 800 yards. And he's working with Joe Flacco and a really struggling Sam Darnold. So that to me in itself is impressive as a second-round rookie. And you'd assume that he would take a leap forward into his second year and beyond. I'm really excited about this kid. I wanted the Jets to draft him. I thought if they were going to draft him, they'd have to trade back into the first round to take him because to me, he seemed like a lock to go in the late first round. Somehow he was there for the Jets at 48. And then again, when they traded back, and I love that pick. And so far, he looks every bit the part of a starting outside receiver. He's big. He has good speed. And to me, the most impressive thing is his catch radius, his ability to go up and get the ball and to be dominant in one-on-one situations. It's something the Jets have not had probably since Brandon Marshall. And Brandon Marshall was at the tail end of his career. So I absolutely love the potential with Denzel Mims. I think he's going to be good for a long time.
Yeah, I agree, man. I am one that did a lot of homework on these receivers in the draft leading up to it. And I honestly didn't even get in, like, I didn't really focus on Denzel Mims because I didn't think that the Jets will ever be able to get him because I thought he was easily going the first round. Like, I thought he was going to go the late first round to the Vikings or the Eagles or the Packers. I thought that's where Denzel Mims was going. And then he falls in the second round and he somehow falls all the way to the tail end of the second round, similar to DK Metcalf. Not play style, just in terms of the draft. DK Metcalf fell so far back, if you guys remember 2 years ago, and look how much of a stud and a steal DK Metcalf is for the Seattle Seahawks. So, Ali, give your take on Denzel and why you think he's going to be good.
I mean, first off, you gotta give Joe Douglas credit. I mean, you gotta give him credit for staying put and trading back, getting more picks, and still having Denzel Mims available for him. I mean, he hit it. I mean, he got Makai Bechten and Denzel Mims round 1 and 2, who have been a complete impact on this team this year. And Denzel is showing off, man. Whenever he's out there, he improves. You see it on the field, and you finally saw a second half of him getting the ball. And, it was a fun thing to see because that's when the Jets kind of came back into the game and kind of became relevant again. But, I just found a stat that only 2 rookie wide receivers have accounted for over 30% of their team passing yards in games this year. It's Justin Jefferson and Denzel Mims. Justin Jefferson's having one hell of a season. He's having one hell of a season. But Denzel Mims, after the games, he only played, 3-4 games? And he's been killing it. He's been killing it, and he's an impactful player. So do I think he can be a number 1? Absolutely. But does he need help? Yes. I think bringing in Allen Robinson or like a guy like Galladay in is going to help him develop even more because you need him to develop. You can't just put him at the wide receiver 1 and expect him to be good. But I think bringing in Allen Robinson or another wide receiver rookie and just having him be wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1 could absolutely help him become the wide receiver 1 for the future for the Jets.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So, Jack, what traits does Denzel have that you think can make him be, above average and be one of the top wide receivers in this league in the future?
He's just got that, that lethal combination of size and speed and ability to catch the ball. He's got great hands. He can make the contested catch. Makes it look pretty easy too. I was thinking a lot yesterday. I was like, ooh, I need to see Trevor Lawrence throwing passes to Denzel Mims, man. Because if he's making catches like that on the sideline with Joe Flacco throwing the ball, and Joe Flacco can throw a good deep ball. We all know that. But Mims was really impressing me out there. I think that unfortunately it's another issue. The Gase issue comes into play with him as well, because I wish we could see more of what he can do. He doesn't get the volume that he should, and I think because the play calling on this team is so predictable that it's kind of easy to shut down our entire receiving core for a whole half of football. I mean, we witnessed it yesterday. So it's just a matter of, is Denzel going to be able to get the touches for the rest of the season to really build on what he's been doing and continue to show improvement? Because I doubt we're going to win a game. So all we need from him is to keep showing improvement and get targets. That's really important for a young guy, is to get in a rhythm. This needs to be a rhythm team, and it's not a rhythm team. We're not an experienced team, so we need to get into a rhythm of good play calling, and it just hasn't happened this year. So that's why we see certain guys struggling out there. But I think he's got all the potential for to be a number 1 guy for sure. But I mean, like Ali said, definitely bringing in a Galladay or an Allen Robinson would be sick, and would only take more attention off of Mims to free him up to make more crazy plays. So I'm all in on Mims. I know we all are.
Yeah, we all are on Mims, and every single Jets fan should be so happy that he is a member of the New York Jets. I mean, what stands out to me physically for him is his catch radius, to be able to contort his body, and like his long arms can reel in balls that are not even close to his body. And that one catch on the sideline, all 3 of the catches yesterday were on the sidelines, but that one where he extended his arms and reeled it in on the sidelines, it looked like it easily could have been picked off, and he somehow reeled it in. I'm like, wow, like that is a next level type of play. And it's just so frustrating that he doesn't get more opportunities like that. I was yelling at my TV for that first half, throw the ball to Mims, throw the ball to Perriman or Crowder. I mean, we all know they just canceled out the receivers for the first half for some weird reason. And let's talk about Brashad Perriman real quick before we move on from Denzel Mims, because I think that he's been impressing in my perspective. I feel like Brashad Perriman, when he's on the field healthy and he gets those deep, he's a deep threat. I mean, he was the guy that come in to replace Robbie Anderson. That's what we did. And I think every Jets fan can agree it was a mistake to let Robbie Anderson walk out the door. And Brashad Perriman was going to be his replacement. So Brashad Perriman, though, when he's out there, he's 2 games in a row, he's had a 50-yard plus yard touchdown. I feel like I would be down to re-sign Brashad Perriman for a cheap deal to acquire depth, because I feel like if he was our number 4 receiver next year, say we, obviously we retain Denzel, and Jameson Crowder enters his last year of contract. If he does not get cut, we don't know. And then we sign someone to free agency, and then we draft a receiver. That like kind of cures the wide receiving depth right there. That's a free agent, like an Al Robinson, Kelly Galladay, Denzel Mims, a rookie, Brashad Perriman, Jameson Crowder. Those are 5 guys that I'd be excited about. So anybody can chime in here, but what are you guys' takes on Perriman? Do you guys think that he should be part of the long-term plan, or do you think he's just having a fluke because he's too injury prone?
I think it all depends on. I think it's too close to call personally, because I think it's really going to be dependent on what our quarterback situation is next year. You know, because if it's not Trevor Lawrence out there, I don't know. Brashad Perriman's clearly a guy that can make the big play, but he's also been struggling with the same injury that he had before we picked him up in this offseason. So hopefully he can stay durable. But yeah, I would definitely be down to retain him for a cheap deal. I assumed he was going to be let go, just one of the guys like in the fire sale. You know, we only had him on a, I don't know why I'm stuttering right now. We only had him on a 1-year deal, so I thought he was going to be gone, but now he's making plays. So, you know, he could. I'll definitely take him back, but it depends on the quarterback situation if he's going to be a factor on our team or not. You know.
Matt, would you want to retain Perriman, or do you think we should move on?
I'm like 50-50 on that, and part of the reason why I'm hesitant is because of, like you were saying, the injuries. This guy, throughout his entire career, has been injury prone, and even this past week he played, but he was on the injury report again. So that really scares me. But to your point, if it's on a cheap deal, and if he's supposed to be like your 4th wide receiver on the depth chart, okay, I can get down with that. Just because I don't, with all due respect to them, I don't think Jeff Smith, Braxton Berrios, or Vincent Smith are really sustainable options on a good playoff caliber team to be a 4th receiver. So I'm all about adding depth. And again, if you can get him for cheap, okay, sure. But I think giving him a long-term deal and any sort of significant money scares me. And any expectation higher of him being the 4th wide receiver scares me. So it would have to be for the right price for me.
Ali, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, on the same boat as Matt, because, you know, he's 50-50. He's 50-50 because he's going to probably have a good couple of games. I feel like if he has a good couple of games, he's going to have a market like he had last year. You know, he's going to have that same market. So he might get a little bit overpaid, and I don't think the Jets are going to want to do that if he wants a lot of money, because I feel like that's what he wants if he finishes the season strong. So, you know, it's kind of scares me. If it's a short-term deal, it's a very small deal, and wide receiver 4, I'll take him back. But yeah, I'm not too high on Brashad Perriman staying.
Word. So let's move on and talk about our stud left tackle in Makai Bechten, and just talk about him because he is just exceeding any expectations you can put on him. I mean, I personally said in all my videos leading up to the season, I would calm Jets fans down and be like, hey, listen, guys, this is a rookie left tackle. We cannot expect him to go out there and dominate. He's going to have some penalties. He's going to get beat. He's going to get embarrassed out there. That's traditionally what happens with rookie left tackles, but not Makai Bechten. I mean, he is looking like a top 5 left tackle in the league. He looks like the best player on the Jets when he's healthy. I think the only thing that Jets fans should be worried about is his durability. And other than that, I feel like he has everything set for him. I don't think there's anything I can think of on the field that is a really big weakness that he needs to improve on. Obviously, he's not done. Like, he's not like at his maximum potential. He's only 21, 22 years old. He's only going to get better, but I really cannot pinpoint a weakness of his where I'm like, wow, Makai needs to really focus on this because that's really bad. He's just dominant. So, Jack, I'll let you start. What's your really take on Makai, and how good do you think he could be if he just stays healthy?
Yeah, well, I think that's the big question mark so far is his durability. But I think Joe Douglas obviously hit a home run with his first pick as the Jets general manager, and we all love to see it. Before I even knew that the Jets were going to take him, I remember seeing a clip of him on Instagram running the 40-yard dash, and I think he got like a 5'1", and he's like 360 pounds, 6'8". I'm like, I want the Jets to take that guy, and we did. I was like, that's the same guy. I was like so hyped, and then all of a sudden it's like Makai Bechten, that's my dude. And I want to point out that he did get leveled yesterday on one play by Denzel Perriman. And another thing is that I thought the announcer, I didn't know who Denzel Perriman was. I thought he was mixing up Mims and Brashad Perriman. So like I had no idea what was happening. So but then I'm like, oh, it's a linebacker. But I like that Makai got leveled because we got to keep him mean. We got to keep him angry, you know? So it's a little bit of a question mark is his durability, but he's got all the skills to back up that massive body of his. He's got all the athletic ability and the fundamentals to back it up as well. So I think Joe Douglas hit a home run. Love Makai. I want him to be the cornerstone of this offensive line for a long time. And if he could stay healthy, I think he's definitely going to be that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree that we hope that we can get 4 more Makai Bechtens on this line, and then we'll be all set. So, Ali, what's your take on Bechten?
I mean, he's a start. He's a start of building a wall on that offensive line. I mean, he's a great start. But like you guys mentioned about him, missing that block, maybe he's not 100%. We know that the Jets are really bad at knowing injuries about a player. We all know that. And I feel like he's not 100%. I don't think there's a doubt in my mind he's not 100% and he's still out there. And because he just said, I want to be out there, but he's not ready. So, it's so stressful. It's so stressful to know that and that be the issue that we're like concerned that Makai Bechten might be hurt but he's still playing. I mean, it happened earlier this season, so I feel like it could happen again. It's just so irritating to see that. But Makai Bechten is a tank. He's an absolute tank, and he's a difference maker for whoever our running back one is going to be next year. You just run behind him. Just run behind him. You get 10 yards. That's literally what you're going to have to do because that's how you're going to move the ball. I mean, how much did you guys see Le'Veon Bell scoring a touchdown yesterday for the Kansas City Chiefs? You couldn't use that guy. You couldn't use him behind Makai Bechten to get 10 yards and a touchdown. You couldn't have done that.
Or at least get something for him.
I know. So it was the most when I saw it, I was like, I'm so happy for Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell is right there on the, and I love that game. I love that man. And I was so happy, pumped. But again to Makai Bechten, man, I think he's gonna be a tank. Whoever is behind there, Lamichael Pirine or whatever running back we draft, it's gonna have a solid foundation with Makai Bechten.
Yeah, man, I think we all can agree that Makai is the stud. Matt, you have anything to add on Makai that we didn't mention?
Yeah, just to me, the athleticism with his size is really what does it for me. I knew that he was big. Like when the Jets drafted him and all throughout training camp, all you saw was pictures of him and be like, Makai Becton's a big human. We know that, but what's he like on the field then when he's playing? Well, he's a monster. He's dominant. He's physical. And to me, that's, I think, the great part. I don't think he's someone who could just be like, okay, yeah, he's a good starting left tackle. No, this could be like an all-pro caliber left tackle for the New York Jets, which is huge. From a roster building perspective, left tackle is probably the second most important offensive position outside of the quarterback. So that's huge. If you could potentially get Makai Bechten playing at an all-pro level and a prospect like Trevor Lawrence, that's how you can turn your franchise around a lot quicker than a lot of people think that it's going to take. So I am absolutely thrilled with Bechten and Mims too. I really think that Joe Douglas hit those 2 picks out of the park. He swung big with Bechten because, with those bigger guys, you risk injury and transition to the NFL gameplay, but he's been phenomenal. He's been really good. He's exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, so we talked about Denzel Mims, Makai Bechten, the first 2 draft picks for Joe Douglas. Now let's try to evaluate the rest of the rookie class and talk about, Ashton Davis, Jabbar Zuniga, Braden Mann, Bryce Hall, Lamichael Pirine, Cameron Clark, even though he's not playing yet, all the undrafted free agents. So, there's a lot of rookies to talk about. So let's just put it this way. We know Joe Douglas's vision is to build through the draft. That's what we want to do. That's what we want him to do. And we saw his first draft as a Jets general manager in 2020. And going into that draft, I said, this draft is going to determine the Jets' future. If he hits a home run in the late rounds and acquires at least 2 to 3 people that's going to be part of the plan in the future to be on cheap deals, that is what's going to set this team up to build a foundation and be successful. So my question to you guys is, out of all the players besides Makai Bechten and Denzel Mims, name one player that you think, maybe not right now because, we've only saw the rookie performances, but in the future, who else could become someone like Makai Bechten and Denzel Mims in terms of being, potentially a stud and like known around the league as an actual really good NFL player? I'll start with you, Matt.
Yeah, for me, I think it's going to be Bryce Hall. And I know he's had limited action, but I really liked him going into this draft class. And I was surprised that he was there for the Jets to take. When you look at what he has as a cornerback prospect, he has all the intangibles. And to me, he held his own against a really good wide receiving core against the Chargers. So I'm excited to see him down the stretch here. I think he could have a season like what Bless Austin did last year when he came on strong at the end of the year. And hopefully he develops a little bit more than Bless did in coverage. But when I look at the rest of the rookie class, to me, Ashton Davis is still a little bit of a question mark. He's looked good. P. Ryan, I don't think he's going to be anything more than like a second running back. Man looks like a great punter. I'll give him that. And we don't really know with Cameron Clark, Zuniga, or Morgan. So to me, Hall seems like the obvious choice. I do think there's a legitimate chance that he could be a starting corner for this team next year, which would be a great find in the mid rounds of the draft.
Yeah, man, I agree. I think Bryce Hall is going to be an absolute stud. I think he just needs to get a lot of, playing time, and hopefully he can stay healthy because he battled a really gruesome injury last year. Ali, is there anybody else you want to talk about, or you want to talk about Bryce Hall or any of the rookies?
I was actually going to add on to Bryce Hall. I mean, I think he has a chip on his shoulder after his injuries. You also got to factor in that he didn't finish his college season. He didn't have a training camp. So he's coming out of there and just playing these top wide receivers and playing pretty well. He has, DK Metcalf coming up soon. He has Jarvis Landry. Not Jarvis Landry actually coming up soon too. So, these top wide receivers, he has a chance to prove himself and, to see if he can actually be the future cornerback in this league and, for the Jets as well. So I think has all the talent. I love that pick when we picked him up. I mean, he's a second round type prospect. I mean, he could have been gone in the second round if he was healthy and he finished the season. But I think because of the injury, people were questionable about it. But I think Douglas took a shot at it, a chance. And, I think it could pay off really well for the Jets because the Jets secondary is absolutely terrible right now. I mean, it needs a lot of help. And Bryce Hall getting that cornerback one position would be ideal for the New York Jets. And I think he could be a starter next year too.
Yeah, I mean, that would be fantastic if Bryce Hall can develop into the guy that we're anticipating. If you guys are enjoying this episode of Monday Night Sports Talk, please make sure you smash that like button. I would appreciate that a ton. We have 35 likes and we have around 90 people watching. Let's see if we can get that over 50 likes. If you guys are enjoying this segment of Monday Night Sports Talk, make sure you go smash that like button. So, Jack, anybody else that you want to talk about in terms of the rookie class this year?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I definitely agree with you guys about Bryce Hall. I think I want to definitely see what he can continue to do, and I want to watch him develop. Because, like Ali said, if he did remain healthy, I feel like he would have gone much earlier. So I like him. With P. Ryan, I just wish we could see more out of him, and I wish we could see different run schemes and just more running behind Makai. And like, I feel you, Matt. As of right now, he hasn't showed us that he could be the guy at running back, but I just wish that we could give him the credit that a 4th round pick deserves by giving him the touches, So, and also, even though he's kind of a meme because of the tackles he makes, let's give Braden Mann some love, man. Because the Jets are notorious for, it seems like half the time they're starting, within their own 10-yard line on offense. So the fact that Braden has an absolute boot and can do that to other teams is, especially with a struggling defense, field position is huge. So I like Braden Mann, dude. I think we got to give him some actual love, not just some meme love,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to get into my guy, as everyone knows, is LaMichael P. Ryan. Unfortunately, he is out this week, and he is battling a high ankle sprain, so he's going to miss some time, which really sucks. But he actually did impress me last week, like yesterday, in his limited times. When he got the ball yesterday, he showed me something about his game that I have not seen yet, and that's in terms of, being shifty around the tackles, being patient, and finding the hole. You saw that on the touchdown run. Makai Bechten had a lot to do with it. He got the ball. He was patient with his feet. He made a quick cut, and he found the hole and burst it through for the touchdown. And that's something I was a little worried about LaMichael P. Ryan. I thought he was a little too impatient, and he hesitated too long. and he couldn't find the open holes, and he didn't look as good as I wanted him to be. But he's starting to develop, and you see the steps. We saw another 10-yard run from him. But overall, in LaMichael Piron's game, in terms of yesterday, I just want to see one game, like Jack said, with 20, 25 touches with Piron. I don't think, that he could be a potential bell cow. I'm not saying that, but I want to see what he could do if he is the starting every down running back for the entire game. Because I think that if you do that, then LaMichael could have a really good night. I really think that if you give him 20 carries, 5 targets in the passing game, and you have him on fantasy, he's putting up 15 plus. I genuinely think he has that next burst where he has that ability to take it to the house. If you look up LaMichael Piron Florida highlights, you see 10 of his touchdowns are 60-yard runs that he just breaks loose. He has next level burst that is really low key. And I do think that his long-term future for the Jets is going to be a running back too. I think we do need to go out there and draft someone like Harris from Bama or that kid from Clemson to really bring him in, because I feel like Piron will be a perfect complement to a bell cow running back like one of those guys. So that's really my evaluation on Michael Piron. The rest of the rookie draft class, I'm really high on. I think Ashton Davis has a lot of room to grow. I think he's really raw right now. We're finally seeing what he can do as a starting safety. Hopefully we could see, Cameron Clark get out there. He's been a healthy scratch for every single week. I'm not too sure why. And Jabari Zuniga, he's getting some limited reps. He hasn't really jumped out to me yet. I see him on the field and I'm waiting for him to do something, and he's just there. Braden Mann's a monster. And let's talk about some undrafted rookies. We got Bryce Huff, who kind of quieted down. He hasn't really done too much as of late. Lamar Jackson, he was getting torched yesterday. Javelin Guidry, he's up there for special teams. And so there's just a lot of rookies on this team. And it's refreshing that we're seeing these rookies get playing time. Unfortunately, they're not getting the playing time I wish they would, because Piron's hurt now, so we can't really say anything. But I wish Joe Douglas would go up to Gase and be like, listen, Gase, I don't understand your fascination with Frank Gore. I understand that he is, a phenomenal football player, and he is going to be a future Hall of Famer. But I want to see what my rookie running back has. Give him the ball. Why are you giving Frank Gore the ball too much? I don't know why that conversation hasn't happened yet, but, throw that out the window, because unfortunately Piron is battling with an injury. So let's talk about the game next week. Jets-Dolphins preview. So pretty interesting, because the Dolphins look like they were scorching hot, and they fell to the Denver Broncos, and they benched Tua. So if you guys want to be entertained, make sure you tune into the AFC East Roundtable this week on Wednesday night, because TD Finstock, who is a Dolphins YouTuber, is the most, hypes up the Dolphins more than anybody. He thinks they're going to the Super Bowl, and he kept telling Dan Mitchell, who supports the Bills, that they're winning the division. So I'm really, really interested to see what TD Finstock has to say about his Dolphins. So do you guys feel like, Adam Gase did say last week that Sam has a potential to start this week? I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm still going to have a mindset of Joe Flacco is going to be the starter. But, do you guys have any, I can't even say, do you guys have any hope of the Jets winning? Because they're not going to win the game. How do I even ask this question? So, Matt, just give us a Jets-Dolphins little quick preview, man.
Yeah, like you, I'm going in with the mindset that Flacco is going to get the start. I think I'd be surprised if Sam was playing. Now, I don't want Sam to play hurt, but I would much rather watch Sam Darnold play with these receivers than Joe Flacco, just because every touch to Joe Flacco and Frank Gore, we're just wasting time here. It drives me nuts. I can't watch it. So I'm really hoping that we get to see Sam Darnold, but that would, again, surprise me. And to me, the Dolphins are going to be a motivated team, which scares the life out of me, because they just obviously are coming off a loss against a team they probably should have beat in Denver. So I think they're going to come back. I'm pretty sure Flores said, too, that Tua is the starter for this upcoming week already. He's a rookie. He's going to have his bumps in the road. But against the Jets secondary, he should be able to get back on track. So I think the tank rolls on for another week, boys.
For sure.
I also think there's a little pressure on Tua's shoulders just because how much Justin Herbert balled out against us. So, Tua, if you're supposed to be a great rookie quarterback, and again, the Dolphins picked Tua over Herbert, then, let's see Tua have 400 passing yards and 3 touchdowns like Herbert did, because I don't think that's going to happen. So, Ali, what's your take on this game?
I want to first mention the Dolphins' decision of benching Tua. I think that was a stupid decision. I think they should have just kept him there. That's game experience for a rookie. I mean, you need to keep the guy in there, especially when it's I think it was only a 10-point game still, and you should keep your rookie quarterback in there. I mean, that's just a horrible coaching decision of taking him out and put Ryan Fitzpatrick in. And I feel like Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to make an appearance in this game somehow. He always does that and lights us up. So I think he'll make an appearance. But benching Tua, I was not very happy about the decision for Dolphins fans, at least, because you want to see him learn from that mistake and that game. So I think that was horrible. But, he has a game. This game should be his game that he shines and gets back on track. I would start him in your fantasy lineups because I think the Jets secondary won't be able to stop him at all.
Yeah, I agree. Jack, what's your take on this game coming up?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, as Matt said, I'll just repeat it. The tank will be rolling on. Like, we can basically guarantee it. I know that the Dolphins are coming off of a very shocking loss to a pretty sketchy Denver Broncos team, but it's a better offense, a better defense, better coaching staff. We don't have a win. We have no culture. Their culture's on the rise. So, everything points to a Jets loss, and I'd be foolish to sit here and say that they have any chance. Everybody could say it's a division game. We'll keep it close. Yeah, we might keep it close, but we'll lose the game for sure.
Yeah, man. So now to finish off the stream, let's talk about something that is going to be probably the most important decision for this Jets future is this man. Will he be fired?
Oh, I was so upset when I saw that pop up on the bottom of the
Will
screen.
Adam Gase be fired? That is, I mean, every single Jets fan, they hear that and they're like, of course he is. But everyone can agree there's a little sliver in your brain that's a little worried that he's not. And I cannot imagine the outrage of the Jets fans when we hear the news, or sorry, not when, if, which will not happen. I'm not going to say it so it happens. If there's news after week 17, Joe Douglas comes on and we've decided, and no, Christopher Johnson, not Joe Douglas, because this is Christopher Johnson's decision, not Joe Douglas's. He's like, you know what, Adam Gase, we're going to move on. We're going to keep Adam Gase as to be our coach next year because, he had a lot of injuries to work through. And I feel like we're going to give Joe Douglas another year to build around. And I feel like Adam Gase with Sam Darnold in his third year in the system is going to flourish. So, and that would be the end of Jets fans. I really think that would be. So, do you think,
sure,
how much % chance of Adam Gase being fired is there for you, Matt?
99.9999, like as high as you, almost as high as you possibly can be. And the reason for that is because I think some people are forgetting that Woody Johnson's going to get back into the fold, coming back from the UK this year, and he's going to want to play the hero, as in I'm going to come in, kick my brother to the curb over here, and then from there I'm going to hire a coach, and we're going to get this thing back on track. I don't think there is any possible way you can justify bringing this guy back for a third year. You just can't do it, especially if they go 0-16. But even if they didn't, let's say they stumbled into a win, because that's at best case scenario, they get one win. There's no way they're winning 2 games this year. So to me, I think that the Jets ownership and Woody Johnson's going to want to come back and be like, okay, I'll be the saving grace to this franchise, because he's got a little bit of an ego too. And he's going to want to hire his guy to be the head coach. And
so, Matt, real quick, why has he not been fired yet? Do you think it's because the Johnson's history of not firing people throughout the season? And like, why have they not fired him yet? Like, why is he still the head coach for this team?
Great question. If it was up to me, he wouldn't have been back this year. I wouldn't have hired him either. But I think they don't like to move on from coaches in the middle of the season. They have never done that in the Johnson administration. So I don't think that's something in their DNA. I don't agree with it, but I just think that's their mindset on it.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. Everyone, make sure you go stream Jack's new song, Logan. Thanks for the support for Jack. For those guys that do not know, Jack is a musician,
out.
And he has a brand new song called Oasis. So, Jack, let's hear your take on Adam Gase and let her rip.
Listen, man, I don't even know if I can let it rip. I let it rip every time, and I'm so disgusted. And it's just like, I agree with you, Matt, that they have no balls, and that's what it comes down to. They have no balls, and they're just afraid to. How can we fire a coach in the middle of the year? What do we do? It's like, it's pathetic. And also, Woody, what are you doing, man? Sell the team before you go to the UK for 4 years. Don't give it to your incompetent brother who does nothing but hire the worst head coach in NFL history. If we go 0-16, okay, now I'm getting fired up, you see? If we go 0-16 this year, we will be the worst team of all time. A little graphic came up during the Jet game yesterday. I don't know if you guys remember it, but we're trailing behind the Browns and the Lions in all the major categories. And we will be statistically the worst team of all time if we finish 0-16 this year. And, that might lead us to greater things. That might lead us to Trevor Lawrence. That might lead us to, hopefully glory down the road. But Adam Gase could be the cause of the worst ridicule, and we're used to ridicule as Jet fans, but Adam Gase could be the cause of the worst ridicule we will ever experience, because we will be the worst team of all time by the end of this season, which is so crazy to say. I can't even believe that we sit here, multiple times a week and say this stuff, and it's true. It baffles me. 10 games down the line, we don't have a win. We have like one competitive game that I could even think of, and it was against New England, who's been looking like crap with washed up Cam Newton throwing the ball out there. So, it's terrible. Gase is the worst hire I've ever seen in my life. Worse than Rich Kotite. I don't think I was alive for that, but worse than Rich Kotite, worse than anything I've ever seen in this league. If I was a college guy, if I was, whoever's in charge of hiring the head coach for universities, I would stay away from Gase. I wouldn't want him coaching my son's Pop Warner team. It's just a joke, man. It really is. And it's because of Christopher Johnson. It's because of Woody just abandoning the Jets for 4 years to go over to England and serve as the ambassador. So, typical Jets, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think that does it. Ali, I'm going to skip you on the Adam Gase thing if you don't mind, because I don't think we need to talk about this clown of a show.
I just want to mention one thing. That 0.1% that Matt was mentioning, that scares me a little bit, because Woody Johnson is supposed to come back around January, end of January. You tend to hire a head coach in the beginning of January after the season's over. So that kind of concerns me, because Chris Johnson's still going to be handling stuff. So that's the only place that I see is kind of annoying. I think he gets fired for 100%. There's no doubt in my mind for that. But there's just a little bit of doubt, because Christopher Johnson will still be calling the shots after the season for at least a couple of days. And that's when Falcons are probably going to be hiring their coaches. Texans are going to be hiring their coaches. So the Jets are probably going to be active on that too, unless Christopher Johnson comes out and says Adam Gase is the head coach for next season. And that's where I probably go in hiding. But I think it's a mess. And
it is a mess.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it more.
Yeah, so let's segue into Joe Douglas, and I want to hear your guys' take. I'm going to switch this right over to Matt right away. Matt, do you have hope and realistic hope that Joe Douglas is the right man to build this team to be competitive every single year and compete for the Super Bowl? Maybe not next year or the year after that, but do you believe that he is the man that could do that for the long-term future for the Jets?
Yeah, absolutely do. A lot of people say that I'm very negative about this team, but to me, I like to say that I'm realistic. But I'm very, very confident in Joe Douglas. I think he comes from two really great organizations in the Eagles and the Ravens. They are perennially always in the mix. So I think he was able to pick up a ton of things along the way. And we're seeing right now in his first draft class that he was able to find Makai Bechten, which was a risky pick. It wasn't the chalk pick. The chalk pick would have been take Tristan Wirfs, but I would argue that Bechten has the higher ceiling, and trading back and then getting Mims in the second round was really smart. And yeah, he had a couple whiffs in free agency. He even admitted the Robbie Anderson thing was a mistake, and I agree. He hasn't been perfect, but to me, I think he is building the foundation. And to me, he seems more of like a football guy. John Idzik was more of like a cap guy, and he didn't know what he was doing. And McCagnon was just disgraceful in the draft. So I'm confident that he can build this team up through the draft, which is what the Jets need to do.
Yeah, that is exactly what the Jets need to do. And the one unfortunate part about building to the draft is time. It's going to take a long time. And Jets fans, they don't want to be patient. Rightfully so. We've sucked for so long, but you cannot build through the draft and cut corners. If you want to build through the draft, you need to get, Joe Douglas needs at least minimum 3 classes under his belt in order to build through the draft. Because when we get to 2023, that's where we're really going to see where this team is at. Is this team going to be competing for the Super Bowl? Because if that's the case, if Joe Douglas, after 3 drafts, in this upcoming draft in 2021, we potentially have the first overall pick, which is going to help the draft process tremendously. And say we do get a guy like Trevor Lawrence, that's just going to, cut corners and, we don't have to be as impatient because we're getting a generational talent like Trevor Lawrence. But it's not going to happen in one offseason. It's not going to happen. And that's what the refreshing thing is to me personally, because Mike McCagnon always tried to take the shortcut. He was kind of fighting for his job and always went to the short-term thinking of like, okay, I need to win next year or else I'm out of here. So let me just hand out the craziest contracts of all time. And that's what Joe Douglas is not going to do. There's a lot of people that harp on Joe Douglas for not opening up the bank in free agency, but I'm happy he did not open up the bank because this team is not yet ready. I feel like Joe Douglas is going to hold on to that cap space and he will open up the bank. And I feel like when Joe Douglas does open up the bank, that means that he thinks this player could take us to the next level because we are ready everywhere else. If we have all these holes all over the team, 1 or 2 players for extremely expensive contracts are not going to change the outcome of the team. We need to build around our talent and develop talent. That's another huge thing. So, Ali, what's your take on Douglas? Do you feel like he is the guy to build this team the right way?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he is the guy. I think if there's any GM in the last 20 years that can fix it, it's Joe Douglas. And I think you've seen it. He stays put with his offers. He didn't overprice Jordan Jenkins. Jordan Jenkins actually came back to accept the contract. He's thinking about what he wants to do, and he wants to win. He wants to change his entire team from scratch. I mean, a lot of people were destroying him about his Adam Gase comments about a month ago. And what do you expect him to say? What are you trying to say? I think he handled it perfectly. He took blame for Robbie Anderson. He said Jamal Adams was a great player, but I had to accept what the offer was. He's admitted to that. And then he's just he's going to say Adam Gase is coming back next year. He has to give credit to the guy who brought him in. He's going to give the credit to that guy who brought him in and got him a job. And you're not going to say your head coach is going to be fired after the season while there's almost 8 to 10 games left. So you got to think realistically about that. And I think Joe Douglas is handling this perfectly. I feel like he already started the draft process. He already started looking at free agents. And he is embracing the tank. And I think he's ready to tank. He's not going to say it openly, obviously, but he's ready to build a future. And I think the Jets is going to be a completely different team next year. I've never said that confidently in my life, but this is rock bottom. This is absolutely rock bottom. And I think the Jets could actually make a major improvement that can shock a lot of people next year. And that's because of Joe Douglas.
How about you, Jack?
Yeah, I trust in the Joe Douglas vision. Obviously, it's hard this year because we see where the team is at, and it seems like anybody that does show any potential leaves the team and or becomes a draft pick. But I trust in the vision, man. I do. He's got respect around the NFL, and that's something that you obviously want in your general manager because he's going to be building this team for the future. One thing Joe Douglas does have to do is it broke my heart. Obviously, he had to give the stock answers, we all know, at the press conference he had, but it broke my heart to say that, hear him say that Gase is, a part of the solution. He needs to separate himself from Adam Gase because, we can kind of read between the lines and say, okay, Joe Douglas needs to say stuff like that. But at the same time, this is New York, this is one of the biggest, probably the biggest media market in the world. And, when we hear stuff like that, we're furious, so he's got to separate himself from Adam Gase. Once again, Gase just dragging down the entire organization. But I do have faith in Joe Douglas. He hit a home run with Makai. I like the Mims pick. I do like the Pirine pick. I think that he's going to be around for a while. And I think that we just need to let Joe Douglas continue to do what he's got to do because we need continuity throughout this organization. So if Joe Douglas can be the guy that can set up his vision for the future and we can execute it properly, I'm here for it because he does give me hope. I do feel like he knows what he's doing.
Awesome, man. So that really does it for this week's episode of Monday Night Sports Talk. If you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure you smash that like button if you guys did not already. I want to thank everybody for joining in the chat. You guys have been pretty active in there, having your own conversations. Always enjoy everybody in the chat asking some questions. We're sorry we did not get to any questions today. We will do that in future streams when it's more of a Q&A, but this stream, we want to make it like a show where we bring some topics and we're kind of having a nice conversation. But again, in the future, we'll have some more Q&A type stuff. So that does it for this week's episode. Before we end off, I'm going to go around the table one more time and let, everyone tell us what's ahead of them in their content creation or whatever they're doing. So Matt, where can we find you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on social media at Matt O'Leary NY, YouTube channel, videos almost daily, new podcast coming out on Wednesday. So make sure to tune into that and appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Also, if you guys want to subscribe to Matt O'Leary's channel, it is linked down below in the description. So make sure you go subscribe to Matt O'Leary. If you guys are not already, very good Jets content. Ali, how about you, man?
You guys can follow me on Loyal NY Jet Fans on Instagram, on Twitter. I'm actually launching AA off-season, which is going to be draft content and off-season content for the NFL. So tune in for that. That's going to be fun to do. See your thoughts about that. And we'll see you next week.
Awesome. And Jack, what about you, man?
Yeah, you guys can check me out on Twitter at Jack_NYJets. And you can check me out on Instagram at Jack McGalley Music. My name's on the screen right there. So it's just one word, Jack McGalley Music. Just came out with a new song called Oasis. So definitely check that out. I love talking Jets football with the boys. Matt, it's been a pleasure to meet you, my man, and get to talk to you. And yeah, see you guys next week. Love this stuff.
Awesome. I'm excited for next week. Make sure you guys stay tuned. And again, make sure you subscribe to Matt. Check out Ali on Instagram and Twitter. And then check out Jack's new music. Type in Jack McGalley on whatever you listen to your music. We would appreciate all the support. Again, you guys are the reasons why we are so motivated to create content. It's because of the guys commenting, liking hitting the like button, subscribing. You guys are the reason that we enjoy talking about the Jets. You make it that much more fun. That does it for this week's episode. Again, thank you guys so much for joining, and we'll catch you guys next week. Peace out, everybody.
Peace out, guys. Thank you.